Hi everyone, this is Arkady Frekhtman, a New York City personal injury trial attorney, and today I wanted to talk about a case that I'm handling for a YouTube viewer. This is someone like you who was watching our videos and called us, and I did a consultation, and the gentleman said, you know what, I want you to handle my case. So I said, absolutely. And he had a prior lawyer. So I asked for the file, and I'm waiting to get the file from the prior lawyer. But meanwhile, a few things that I already saw. This was a rear end crash. And unfortunately, the prior lawyer that he had never filed a motion for summary judgment. And he never took a deposition of the defendant. And the case is just sitting there for like years and years. It's an old case, many, many years ago, without a deposition of the defendant, the person that you're suing, and without summary judgment, which would have given 9% interest from the date of the judgment. And you can file a motion for summary judgment when you file the lawsuit. So I've done, for example, someone has a lawsuit yesterday. Someone has a crash yesterday. I filed a lawsuit today. The next day I do an affidavit, I can file for summary judgment, it'll be granted. If it's a rear end where you're stopped or where you're moving in traffic where you did nothing wrong, someone else rear-ended you. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people, they contact me, they watch this channel, but they already have attorneys. And I tend not to take cases from other attorneys because I don't want to take cases from other attorneys. And also it's hard, right? Because this is an art of practicing law. And it's almost like if you're gonna get in the middle of a case, someone else is like drawing a painting, let's say, and they're halfway through with their painting, and then I'm supposed to take over and finish the painting. And even if I could draw like the Mona Lisa, but maybe they drew like a stick figure, you know what I mean? So, and I can't undraw what they drew. So I could only paint my Mona Lisa on top of their stick figure, like a first grader would draw. So that's the point I wanted to make, that, if you guys know anyone that really needs a lawyer, contact me early, because I can't really help when it's too late. Like this particular gentleman, I'm gonna help him because I promised, and I'm already in the process. I'm gonna try to fix it. But certain things I can't fix. Like for example, the second thing, he took funding, right? He didn't take that much funding. He took like maybe $20-something thousand. But that first lawyer gave him a funding company that didn't cap or put a ceiling on the interest. So if your principal is $20-something thousand, most funding companies are going to cap or put a ceiling on it. So it'll rise up, but it'll be 40 or it'll be 60, but it's not going to be crazy, right? This particular individual owes close to 120,000 already on the 20-something thousand, and it's never going to stop. It's just going to keep going. So now I'm going to have to probably file a lawsuit against this funding company or have a judge determine whether that kind of contract is even reasonable. So that's additional work for me because that first lawyer, for whatever reason, did that to this poor gentleman. But it's a good case. He had a spinal fusion. It's a serious case. And, he actually wants to borrow more money, a little bit more, like $500, $1,000 now. So I'm going to try to set him up with a reputable funding company. So I just wanted to do the video to really explain all the different pitfalls, because it's not just preparing a case and going to trial. You have to deal with funding companies. You have to deal with medical offices, doctors. You have to deal with clients, right? Different personalities, different individuals. You have to deal with prior lawyers. Like in this case, I tried to get the file from the prior lawyer. We called 2 or 3 times, and they said the individual who is in charge of substitution of attorneys is on vacation and they won't be back for 2 weeks. And we sent the substitution of attorney form to that prior lawyer at the end of August. So it's already been about 2 weeks, right? We're in mid-September now. And then by the time this guy gets back from vacation, it's going to be 2 more weeks, so it's a month. But that's another issue, right? Because what are we supposed to do? If we file a motion in court, the judge will force them to turn over the file. But a motion takes a month or 2, right? Maybe even longer. But then what could I do? I could send them an email, I could send them a letter, I could maybe call the lawyer and be really, really tough and say, look, if you don't do this, the client may report you to the Bar Association, because this really isn't fair. Because now this original funding company, the one where he owes 120,000, they don't want to give him any more money. And the reason they don't want to give him any more money is because they say he's overfunded. But the only reason he's overfunded is because they're charging crazy interest. Meanwhile, this former lawyer has a person in his law firm that's dedicated, their job title is to deal with consents to change attorney. I mean, that's just an absurdity in and of itself, right? Like, we don't have anyone like that. Why would you need an individual to deal with changing lawyers? That means they get substituted so often that they have like a person, they pay a salary just to deal with substitutions. I mean, it's nothing to do. All you do is you print out your expenses from QuickBooks, and there's a standard letter about sharing the legal fee. Because remember, when somebody substitutes a former lawyer and hires a new lawyer, the way it works is the legal fee stays the same, right? If, for example, he never hired me and he kept that lawyer, and the case settles for $1 million, the client would get $700,000, and that lawyer would get $300,000, approximately a third, right? Now he hired me, so what I would do if I settle the case for $1 million, the client still gets $700,000, right? His share does not change. That's the client's piece of the pie. And now I would share the $300,000 with this former lawyer. I would say, look, okay, you did so much work. Maybe you take $150,000, I take $150,000, whatever. If we can't agree, then the judge will decide. He'll say, okay, you got the result. You went to trial, Mr. Frekhtman, so you get $200,000, and this guy did some of the preliminary work, like he did. I don't know what he did. It doesn't seem like he did much, but whatever. He gets $100,000 or he gets $50,000, whatever the judge decides, and we just follow the judge's order. So, but that doesn't concern the client, right? So there's no real downside to the client from getting a good lawyer, except for the point that I made before about art, right? Like if the guy started painting a stick figure like a first grader would paint, and now somebody else comes in and tries to paint the Mona Lisa or the 16th Chapel, right? They're a great artist, but you can't undo what's already been done. That's why it's always better to contact a real trial lawyer in the beginning, to do your research and to hire someone who can do a good job right from the get-go. Because I've noticed from YouTube and from other platforms, just being experienced, having been a lawyer for like 23 years now, since 1999, I've seen that when you take a case from another lawyer, it's not always the best thing. It's always better to get the case fresh, right? Because then you could build it up the right way with the human story, with the biography, with the investigation, with the experts, with the medical treatment. Here you have a clear-cut case, a rear end. So there's no issue on liability, but there should be a summary judgment motion. There should be interest running. The case should be on the trial calendar, because this particular case is in the Bronx. And in the Bronx, as you've probably seen from other videos, you have to wait like 2 or 3 years just to get a trial from the point that you certify the case as trial ready. So you put a case on the trial calendar, from that date you have to wait 2 years, right? Or maybe 3 years. But this case isn't even on the trial calendar. It's just like lingering somewhere. It's almost like in a storage facility. So it's just sad. I just hate to see this. And the other point is that people don't know, right? I mean, people shouldn't know. People can't know, because you're just a person. You're not an attorney, right? You're just an individual. So how would you know if your attorney's doing a great job or if they're doing the worst job imaginable? You wouldn't know. So that's why it's so important to just get the right lawyer in the beginning. And, the only way you could know if you already have a lawyer is to just have a lot of conversations with them, get knowledgeable yourself, ask them about insurance limits, what's the status of my case, what's going on, and if you're not happy, get a consult from someone else, or make an appointment and get a consult from them. But basically, it's difficult. It's difficult for an individual to know all this. It's almost like a doctor, right? If a doctor is going to do a surgery, well, how do you know they did the surgery correctly? You were under anesthesia, right? You don't know. It's only after the surgery. Did I have a good result? Do I feel good? Or is my back still hurting? Or is whatever they operated on my knee, is it still hurting? Do I need a second surgery? Maybe they didn't do the best job, right? So it's kind of like that. But I just hate to see people get like screwed over, and I want to help serious injury victims and families, whether they retain me or not. That's my mission. So, please ask your questions. Please like and subscribe to our channel. Let us know how we could help you, and we are here for you. Okay. Have a great day, everyone. Bye-bye.